And my soul told me this around solstice. It said, because I was going through a lot, like I guess everybody was. Let me make sure everything's. Um, and I remember, I think we've been getting a lot of downloads. They've just been accelerating, and it said to me, uh, "Get ready, because January 1st, you're taking off. You know, it's time to go. Somebody's got to get out there and blaze the trail. You may not get it perfectly, but you know, give it a shot because that's what you do." So I'm like, okay, aye, aye, sir. 2 bags full. Let's see if we're on. Uh, make
Your
sure.
wings are on fire, and we're only 6 weeks out of the year of the horse, the fire horse.
Yeah, I just found that out last night. I thought it was the first because people kept making. They kept making. Let me make sure it's on YouTube. Mm-mm. Well, we're on X. Oh no, we're live. No, no, we're not. Oh, there you are. Yeah, yeah, we're live. Okay, Leanne Edwards. Leanne Edwards is in the house from New Zealand. I think this is our third or fourth gathering. They've been, every one of them have been very explicit, very open, and I think that's what it really takes. And so, like many of the sisters that we had the privilege of having conversations with over the years, but especially in the latter part of December, something exploded. A lot of the messages they were saying, and they've been doing the work for years and years, like you, it's time to come out. They're told the same thing. So it's got to be an incredible time for you and your sisters that have been working on this thing for 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Morena, good morning from Aotearoa, New Zealand, land of first light, and the ancient word for Aotearoa, or describing it, is long threshold to the universe. And that's what it's feeling like. I was taken up to Kapo Wairua, Spirits Bay in the far north of Titai Tokerau, the North Islands, for a 5-day water fast just prior to solstice. And it was very clear. 5 days water in that area, unplugged, offline. And it was probably the most gentle water fast I've ever done. But it was a matter of cleansing and purification for what is to come. But these holidays, the sacred season that we entered really with galactic alignment with the galactic center on the 19th. And then we came into the 20th, which was a day one of another 36 cycle of the main calendar. Then we entered through new moon and into solstice. And into our sacred season. In this sacred season, obviously for the northern hemisphere, it's a time of going in. In the southern hemisphere, it's midsummer. Yet it's also energetically a time of going in, of reflection, recalibration, and integration and digestion, and a time of cleansing and purification to make space for what is to come. And it's been very significant, this journey. Our holidays have turned into holy days. And although I've closed my office doors for one-on-one meetings in my mentorship program, it's been full on with planetary pieces that have been coming through to land, make space and land during this period. On this transition, this 6-week transition, as we leave the year of the wood serpent and the wood snake into the mid-February when we begin the year of the fire horse. So it's the end of the cleansing and purification and the ignition and igniting of the heart fire and what is to come and why we're here at this time. And it's been extraordinary, even through our Guardians of Gaia gatherings, where we gather on new and full moons, and just to understand, everybody who is incarnate on this planet has a responsibility as a guardian to our host planet. And depending upon the stage of our evolution and embodiment, we serve at different levels to the planetary system. So Guardians of Gaia is a network, a community, a global community of sisters and brothers who have been in service to our planet for different periods of time and are feeling a strong call to come together, to reconnect and reunite with those that we have walked with before at this time. And there's some really big pieces that are coming through now that have never been on our planet before for what is birthing new. And it is very exciting what is unfolding.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to put some music behind that. That was a heck of an intro. That was cosmic conscious rap. No, that was very eloquent and resonate very very deeply with it. Um, it's been like right into the period you're talking about with the little wild card of the three eye atlas was out there too. Like, what is that? Just another infinity rabbit hole. I mean, another influence. I mean, it's obviously was in our presence, and then to have the moon, and then the solstice, and then the days after. It feels to me, and this has been coming in for quite a while for me. These cycles that are all connecting. Like you were talking about the 36, and but I was shown this past summer all these cycles are coming together at one. And then the other thing that you said that resonated because of what I'd received over the last few months is that what you said about it, we've never experienced this on the earth ever. There's so many virtually infinite seeds and streams that are our composition truly, and the Mother Earth's composition. And this is a true birthing, really. I don't know if it's an awakening anymore. I think it's a birthing.
It is. We're shown actually since our ancient future sacred journey in Egypt through the September equinox. We were shown that as the beginning of the stage one of the birth canal. December solstice, the next stage, which we've just been through. The next stage being March equinox before the birth in mid-April around Easter time. So they're big passages of contraction into expansion, cleansing and purification to make more space for what's to land through each cycle. And we had the blue bees from Andromeda landing a codex on the planet for our evolution yesterday in our Guardians gathering. It's like you can't make this up anymore.
How long have you been doing that Guardians gathering in the physical?
2.5 years. I got the nudge to begin it when I was actually in Mexico. I had, it was my last big walk. I'd been up in Indonesia, had to go down through Africa, go and visit the Kamani San in the Kalahari Desert for December solstice, for they hold the key codes of creation through their trance dance, the oldest extraterrestrial race on our planet. And from there, I thought I was going into North America and Hawaii, but I got sent straight into Mexico and out to Tepoztlan, birthplace of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, Christ consciousness in the Mayan calendar, and based there for 40 days and 40 nights before being taken to Teotihuacan Pyramid Complex outside of Mexico City for the Lion's Gate Passage, and then from there into Guatemala, into Atlan, where we revisited also Neste's gathering, and then down into Peru for a December solstice sacred journey down there. It was a big, big walk that year. And so Guardians of Gaia began in Marilu Figaro, who is a beautiful Mexican sister who began the first mind, body, soul gatherings in Mexico City. A lot of big American names used to come down to those. Through Airbnb, I was delivered to her doorstep. So I lived with her on her land. And she was birthing the University of Consciousness, the Conscious University in Latin America at the time. And from her garden, we also birthed Guardians of Gaia on full moon gatherings for the first 6 months, and then at the end of the first 6 months, the last 2 years, we're meeting every new and full moon. And right now, since solstice, there's pieces, big planetary pieces coming through in the spaces in between as well.
So do you share? I know you share codes just with the coming together and the intention and the recognition, because like you were saying, it's time for us to come together, those that have done this before together at times like this, basically. But do you exchange information like verbally? I mean, do you share,
Oh.
or does it just kind of unfold synchronistically, where everybody just kind of like telepathically through conversation, but also through that higher frequency field that's come in?
It's come through in many ways. There's at times we've had special guests have been called in to share particular keys and codes. And it goes through seasons and cycles and phases. It has completely its own consciousness. I'm just the secretary, and sometimes I screw it up with time differences and everything. But it's right now, it's definitely got its own consciousness and a theme of what's coming through, what's emerging when, and bringing in people who have been working, like Raylene and Soretta and Joe, and all of our sisters who have been working quite independently for a period of.
Dude, don't tell me the thing went out. Is that her or
Time
me?
more
There.
to be able to land what's coming through, and it's really extraordinary what's unfolding. So yes, there is conversation, there's sharing of keys and codes, gifts, guidance, intel, information, inspiration. And if you are aligned and coherent, which we will open the field in a way that brings everyone into a coherent alignment through the holographic alignment of our reality, it's infinite what's possible in the potential of that field.
Yeah.
And everyone will have the experience they need and receive what they need from that field. And it could be just more of their own soul landing, or a soul retrieval might happen. And people who are listening to the replays are getting just as much.
When I listen to you, it sounds to me like there's a group of people that have come together just to, I'm going to say it from the outside in, not, as an observer, um, that are basically applying everything they know to be true in their conscious existence. And they're coming together, which is even a greater exponential quantum effect. Like you said, through the individuals, they get what they want, but as within, without. And, to me, I picture, and I know, people sometimes look at, what was that? What was that?
That was just the table turning over.
Wow. Wow.
It's a turning over of time of fire.
It could be, hey, everything's speaking to us, and that's my point about the gathering that you have is these are people that are more relaxed. And I'm not trying to say that anybody's better than anyone else, but these people are living their life from the soul, from the multidimensionality, in the present, you would say, and not letting the projection of the world dictate them. And if so, less and less and less every single day. This is a very powerful thing. It's not something you're going to see on the mainstream or even on podcast. This is probably happening with a lot of groups around the world.
Yeah, we're being called together, those that are standing in their self-sourcing and sexual sovereignty
Hmm.
and following their soul's wisdom and guidance and showing up where and when they're feeling called to. And it's interesting because as souls, many of us have walked and woven together in different timelines and lifetimes on and off planet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that we touched on yesterday, because when we come together, we've often got history as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same, in when I take my students through Mastery of Multidimensional Mentorship, one of the first things we address is if you are pulled towards, drawn towards, or repelled from anybody in the circle, pause and ask the 5 questions. Have we met before as souls? If so, how many times? In these circles, we're asking on and off planet, but this is applicable in intimate relating too. Oh, my soulmate, twin flame, wrap myself around them and set myself on fire. There's no need to spend the next 6 years working this shit out. We can actually ask those questions. Have we met before? If so, how many times? Is there any distortion in these meetings? Is there any entanglement or bindings in those meetings? And most of us now have the ability to address that within ourselves, if not to seek help to do it. Because once there's clarity in the field between souls, you can ask very directly, are we coming together for co-creation, procreation, recreation, or a combination? And a lot of it is for collaboration, because there's a lot of talk about unified consciousness, yet that it can't just be a mind concept. It has to be an integrated action, walk in the world of unified consciousness. So to have that amount of synergy with others, it requires clarity. And then everybody's listening to the same information through whatever filters they have remaining and getting the same general message. And when we come together with our vision and insight, we can expand the picture and come into more clarity and concise in our actions in a much more reduced period of time and exact focus on where our consciousness is required for how long.
Mm. Yeah,
And it's
brilliant.
really important. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, you spoke to the evolution of it because you're right. You put it so eloquently. You don't need to take 6 years to figure out what the hit was. So I think when we first got into these things, it was, yeah, I mean, we were in a different state. So it was like, oh my God, we were lovers, or oh my God, you were my father, and whatever, or even other off-planet memories. And then we kind of got to a point where, oh, these were things meant to wake me up and tell me that I'm multidimensional and blah, blah, blah. And you kind of let go of the information, the potential information that it has to offer, and you just keep looking forward, knowing, expanding in terms of, what you understand yourself to be. But then you come back to it, and it makes sense because in this incarnation, all of us have had to go back into the past, most of it trauma related, to figure out, what we needed to figure out. So why wouldn't that apply to our quote unquote previous incarnations, or however you want to put it? So yeah, I love the fact that you weave into it the verbal, the human conscious verbal, where it puts its self aligned with the multiversal potential information, and you're sharing it. So, what I'm picturing is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people. They come together, or 2 of them do it at one time, or whatever the case is. The impetus being you felt something, like, let's not resist it. Let's close our mind, like you said, through that exercise, and then ask these questions. Now you've got 2, 3, 4 minds, souls, sharing, merging. And yeah, I would imagine that's probably something that moves faster and faster as you guys do it, in terms of, like you said, it just gets quicker and quicker.
It does. And, I listen with different sisters and brothers into different fields of consciousness. There's a group of us that listen to the incoming souls, the incoming children, the new arrivals on the planet. And when we come together and we listen together and share. And if somebody doesn't feel quite right or says something that's not incoherent with the other, we always pause and investigate and bring coherence into the field before we continue. Is there a personal piece that's coming up that needs resolution, so that we're all moving together? if that makes sense.
And
And
you
this
do
is what
these,
our evolutionary journey is like now.
yeah. And you have
You know,
these on video, I mean, on online?
yeah, all of our Guardians of Gaia gatherings are on Earthwalk Global's YouTube.
Okay.
They're all waiting for Guardians of Gaia to have an income and set up its own entity because it is its own consciousness entirely.
Wow. I didn't
Yeah.
mean to interrupt you.
And
I just wanted to, so I can go listen to it. But continue with what you were talking about.
yeah, the codes that came through yesterday's gathering and the new moon one just after solstice are massive. The new moon one's up. I'll put the full moon one up today. But they're there for everyone to receive, and anyone who's ready to receive them and has space in which to land them and integrate them through their systems at this time.
So you come together and kind of go into like a group session. I guess it starts somewhere, and then through that there's spontaneous or uh, you know present
Yeah.
comments or
We're,
whatever comes,
we're often
discussions.
we're often given a theme. So we begin each meeting, and this is Casey, who you've now met with. She's been hosting with me since almost since we began. And what we'll do is I'll welcome people and we'll go through the holographic alignment, aligning our bodies physically, mentally, emotionally with our soul and higher self, monadic galactic self. Then we anchor through. I'm just wondering if I meant to take you through it now. No, it's all on the recording. And then we anchor through the planetary field and the new Earth architecture. And then I hand over to Casey and she'll expand that, usually galactically. And then we see what wishes to emerge through the field. Sometimes we have a theme, sometimes we don't. But there's always something that wants to come through. And it's always for the benefit of all. And that includes individuals bringing forward their gifts as well. There's some remarkable guardians that have been sharing their gifts recently. And we've been working with the master crystals of the planetary system. The cosmic womb that was being overlaid down the bottom of the African continent, Cape Point. What was called False Bay is actually Womb Bay, and the cosmic womb has since landed there. And with that, it's reconnecting people's umbilical cord to their cosmic consciousness and their stellar star maps. It's what is unfolding is for the evolution of our planet and humanity. And it's
Yeah.
out there for everyone who's ready to receive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It feels like a birthing. I'm like listening to your description, that umbilical cord, like, it's like the lights are being turned on, right? And I'd love to hear about uh, this group and, more of its evolution. I'd also like to hear about the smaller group or the subgroup that works in communication with the kids coming in, with the children that are coming in. That must be, I mean, to do that alone, everybody has their own phone lines to the universal, their own specialties or whatever. But to come together with a group and do that specifically with that level of frequency that these children are bringing in must be amazing.
It is. I wish to acknowledge Shelley Lamar, a Kiwi sister who has been working with the incoming souls as a scientist for a very long time, for about 20 years now. She's currently writing a book about it. She's a Kiwi sister. And last time I spoke to her, she was actually based out of Mexico as well. So she's been on her journey for 20 years with the incoming souls. I met her when I was pregnant in 2012. I met her in person. We'd known about each other, but we hadn't met in person. I came onto this planet knowing I wasn't here to have children. So the whole mainstream matrix program of get married, have children, da 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 da, didn't land in my field. And I didn't expect to have any, but as I started waking up, there were two blue ones in my field requesting entry. And I kind of was like, okay, maybe I'm meant to be open to this if it's my highest service to be a mother to these children. But they came and went. And then I was in a long-term relationship, and our agreement field was no children. But we'd just been teaching a Tantra workshop in the heart of Europe, in the heart of Poland, at a doula's house property outside of Warsaw. And after our weekend workshop, we were making love, and my partner had really good ejaculatory course management. But he went over, and I was ovulating, and I conceived instantly, and I knew it.
Wow.
And I did my best to keep the secret for myself, but it was extraordinary what happened, because that was from the heart of Europe. I was taken up through Scandinavia, and I've got ancestral roots in Scandinavia, across to Mount Shasta, down through Sedona, out to Hawaii, and then into Aotearoa. And by then I had very clear communication with this soul, or what I perceived to be a soul, that wishing to come in through me. And her name was Shekinah, and at that stage I didn't even know what Shekinah meant, so I had to go look it up in the dictionary. It's like, oh, who are you then? And when I landed back in Aotearoa, I met Shelley in person, and we saw, or what Shekinah showed us, is she was the 13th of the 12 of a monad that were anchoring in the new star systems for the planetary body. And then I went to a Lightworkers conference in the North Island at Mana on the Coromandel Crystal Peninsula, and then one down in Christchurch in the South Island. And after that, inland from Christchurch is a sacred site called Tikohanga, or Castle Hill, that the Dalai Lama refers to as the navel of the universe, or the Urukeo called the birthplace of the gods. And after that retreat, I went there, and that's where I miscarried. Shekinah was with me for 2 months in that big Fibonacci spiral out of the heart of Europe, through Shasta, Sedona, Hawaii, Aotearoa. And then from there, she was complete. And I crawled onto a plane when I probably should have actually been in hospital, but needed the paramedics to get me off. And because her embryo had stuck in my cervix. So I went through the process and pain of losing her. And then a few days later, I still got myself on another plane, and I went to be with the whales in Hervey Bay, the humpback whales. That was the medicine I needed for healing and integration from that journey. And I was heading that way to Crewe on a sound journey we do with whale songs there. So that, from that moment on, then my planetary service was fully integrated with the incoming children, and it's never been separate since. The new children have been landing into the planetary body, what is then made available to us in our evolutionary journey. And it's been an extraordinary journey, right through to the birth of my goddaughter, who is of Shekinah's monad. And she came in, she's 3.5 years old now. She was conceived in Sweden, born in Sweden, to dear sister Anna Maria, who was assisting me when I worked with women on all continents prior to that. And she, Miranda, Anna's daughter, my goddaughter, came through, Anna Amawa's daughter, my goddaughter, came through in June 2022 with 7 of the 12, and then the other 5 started arriving last year. And we know most of her monad that are now on the planet. Yeah.
That's
And
wild.
they were the first ones to arrive with their galactic architecture fully intact.
Yeah.
That's enabled us to recalibrate into our galactic architecture. And the ones arriving now are arriving in their Homo Universalis, in their universal architecture and beyond.
Wow. Amazing. This is absolutely amazing. You can see it as you explain it, and it all makes sense. I mean, we've been we've been asleep. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Nobody got out of here alive. Only a few people came in walking on water. But no, this is amazing because I'm seeing this. Now, I couldn't have verbalized this in the past week. I had a conversation in regard to some of this, through the experience of her life and my life and what was happening. And I said, look, that you can see it. It used to just be numbers. Then it's, and now it's souls. Where are you? What's your environment like? Who did you run into? I mean, it's beyond, oh my God, I'm in the flow, or, no, there's real messages here. And the thing I love about what you're talking about today, on top of it all, is to pause with anything that feels off, and then allow it to have its space, and then to think it through or talk it through, right? And then you keep going. That's, I think, the most important thing, because it requires the human to align with that which it is, which is not just a human. It's all that's being reflected by what you're describing with these children, these two waves of children. So if that's happening outside of us, it's happening inside of us too. That's the way
Yeah.
it works. But we're
What
not,
they are
yeah.
landing is enabling in us.
Yeah.
And on this journey, we've got to slow down as we reconnect to more of our architecture. We can't run around like a headless chook or a rat on the treadmill anymore. It doesn't work. The magic of being here now comes when we are in sync with the source of creation. So hence, honoring the seasons and cycles, the natural organic rhythms of our planetary bodies with our earth bodies helps bring that into sync. And that could be on new and full moons with the Guardians gathering. It is on all our solar cycles, our equinoxes, our solstices, our cross quarters. And it is on very much on eclipses, We've got eclipses coming around the corner just after we go into the year of the fire horse. So it's to be able to walk in our world with full alignment, coherence, and integration through the bodies, so that we're no longer listening simply with our mind, we're listening with our whole unified system to what's going on. And there's a lot of information. And that's why people who are super sensitive empaths and have realized it as their superpower live life differently in order to maintain that coherence, connection, the synergy, and the communication systems required for our earth walk and service at this time.
Yeah, that's an excellent perspective. And with that, what you're saying in another way is, I guess, having gone through the initiations, because that's what's required in order to move into that vibration, which is to be emotionally healthy, um, emotionally intelligent, because there is a hit that we take with that super sensitivity, and that's been a big challenge for people, particularly the sisters over the years, because the world didn't understand them. So again, I mean, it's all speaking to the same thing. You've got the children, waves of children. You've got the mother. You've got the her daughters, and then you've got this other thing that hit, I think, at the end of the year, which was the masculine. Because I know I went through hell. for like 3 months. But you can see the other side of it, and they're all converging. So I guess it's going to be a heck of an Easter.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and the children are also teaching us the importance of community.
Mm,
The new children, they don't operate in a solo parent or a single couple. They require community, and so too does our evolutionary journey. You know, it's easy to be enlightened when you live alone in a cave. I tried that out for 7 years and then I got kicked out of my cave and had to start again. And what I'm learning from being out in the world again, say she who hasn't been out at a gate for the last week, I have been very interactive with the planetary body, my bees, and online communications. And I'm going out dancing this evening. However, it's been a full-on journey, but definitely our evolutionary journey, our embodiment and our evolutionary journey requires community. It requires the greater unified field. It's no longer a one man show or one
mm,
woman show. And what is emerging out of the unification and collaboration in community is beauty beyond belief.
mm.
Even witnessing Guardians of Gaia gatherings, continue to expand and evolve, and witnessing how they're helping people connect globally across the planet with people who can support them, with their resonance, where's their unresolved issues, and where's their collaborative opportunities that are wanting to emerge. And we've already been shown that in the time to come, that Guardians of Gaia literally wants to have its own online Refidex and will be doing in-person gatherings on the planet in synchrony at certain times, at certain events.
Yeah, I
So,
think there's going to be a lot of those. I
yeah.
think yeah, but it only makes sense. Flower of life, I mean, and that's what I was, commenting on earlier too. Like how many women's groups, how many, you know, like groups are there? How many cells are there around this world? It wouldn't take that many if you really think about it. I mean, one soul can move the whole world. We're moving into a space that, some people used to prophesize it as there'll be a bunch of Jesuses and Magdalens walking on the earth, and that's very true. But I don't think it's the way that at least not the way I looked at it. I thought, oh, that's going to be very literal, and it is to a degree. But we're looking past this. The way that you're explaining your experience and with your group, um, we're actually living as we're visualizing what's well beyond the visible light spectrum. Because even as I'm listening to you, I'm seeing the waves, I'm seeing the grid lines, I'm seeing that everything that's come into this realm, at some point of our limitation. Let's take, for example, the moon. Many of us think the moon was brought over here. We're shown the moon was brought over here 12 or 13,000 years ago, and there's a nefarious thing behind it. But that's not the point, because that's actually been orchestrated from something well above it, right? And this is kind of what I'm seeing. It's this primordial, original, universal seed and child, coming in. Uh, and this part of our consciousness gets to have the experience in this very physical body, dense body that's actually transforming as well.
Transforming from carbon to crystalline in a very rapid rate right now.
Mm,
And that was more of what we touched on in yesterday's gathering too. And how to support the body during this transformation is vital. And to know that there's no shortcuts to doing our foundational work. Because the more we connect to our monadic galactic selves and beyond into universalis, the stronger our foundation is required. Because without that in place, we're actually a hazard to ourselves or anyone else we might be wishing to serve. These are lighthouses, these are stargates, they're galactic gateways. And as we connect, we must occupy them. If we don't, who or what is? It's that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And that's why we're making decisions, many of us, that make no effing sense. And you just find yourself in a space, but this is exactly right. It's walking the talk. It's for me, it's like we're a bunch of us, or it's open to us that we can apply our conscious awareness to every present moment. And it's becoming more and more and more of a higher degree of efficacy. We're in a high range, like 95%, 98. I don't know what it is, but it's moving faster and it's getting bigger. And at some point, it's got to pop. It has to, you know, and it is actually. But I guess, like you said, what is it? March and April, which I've heard a lot of people say. There's definitely something to it. I think 2026, by the time we get to mid-April or to Easter, it's going to be like 2 millennia away from 2025.
Yeah, it is. And even with a couple of pieces that have come through recently, we've been shown, we know this is a time of mass awakening of humanity, and literally the waves just about to break on that mass awakening of humanity. And there's big planetary pieces that are shifting to make it possible. And it's a really important time to let go of control and surrender to the soul and what wishes to unfold here. And for some, that can be a pretty frightening experience, who are being asked to do that for the first time. And even for the second time, after a few dark nights of the soul, that they'll pass quicker. You just
Or
dive
or
in.
like yeah, or like me,
but
the 20
but in
the
the
20
beginning,
second
it's
time.
pretty frightening.
I just had my 22nd time, so it was frightening. But no, I think that's like the root of the transmutation. I mean, because you're right. I mean, the surrendering thing, especially at the end of this year, oh my God, and the purging, all the bodies, the physical, it wasn't so mental, it wasn't so emotional, although I had a couple of crying spells. But it doesn't mean that the human is forgotten. It's basically in terms of, the choices we make and as we proceed, it's the human actually is the final choice. The human consciousness that's carried the load gets to say, yes, I'm going to choose this path. This is it. Boom. This is me. And then the whole thing just starts getting crazy. I mean, I feel like we've walked through a stargate now, listening to you about the two waves of children, etc. We're in this thing. I mean, we're it's the wide open. We're here. It's just, I guess, well, as they say, which doesn't make sense. It's kind of an oxymoron, but it's going to take time.
Well, welcome to the University of Duality on the only
Mm,
planet of choice. The,
mm,
the planet we choose to come for the greatest opportunity of our soul's evolution. And it's a choice to wake up.
mm.
And one of the great one-liners somebody said to me once, really early on in my journey, was, any belief is limiting.
Yes.
And when that was spoken to me, it just grounded and silenced me. The depth of truth in that any belief is limiting is so important, because, we cling to the way we've organized reality in order to make sense of life. And when the wheels start to fall off and loosens that grip, we'll often cling on to something else to be our reality, until that's shaken loose again, to really let go and into that surrender and let go of our beliefs that govern the way we interact and filter the information we receive in order to fit into a certain fabric of reality. for to access the infinite potential of creation, we can't have the limitation.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You can't. It's a restriction. I mean, it's like how do you even explain it? You can say being present, dying, surrendering, but it's a mix. That's what I mean. Like if you look at the metaphor of the force of that primordial that's behind it all coming into the earth through those children, and it's and the earth is kind of at an inverse spin because of the distortion. It hits and boom. It's that boom, and it's a constant thing. You could even say in some way it's ecstatic, you know. It's soul, it's sacred soul, sexuality, it's Christ conscious, it's many, many things. And it is becoming more and more obvious to me that uh, the present moment, like being present with yourself, with where you live, the whole thing I've been going through, and I know a lot of people have, is where you get that information. It's where you get more of your memories, and there's more uh, uh, meetings that are not coincidental, and things are coming together more naturally because there's a lot of people on that path. And like you said, it's basically built in conjunction with us as these children and other energies come in us and become anchored, and then we apply it through our thoughts, words, and actions. I
And
mean,
it,
to
it
me,
is ecstatic, it,
yeah,
it awakens our ecosexual nature in such a beautiful way. We get to make love to life. And that happens, you know, yes, we need mastery of mind, management of emotions without bypassing or disassociation, and regulation of nervous system. Because when we can live in our relaxed and expanded system that is open and has a free flow of life force with it, it awakens our ecosexual nature, which is not dependent upon anyone or anything, that interacts with our environment. And it's where we do get to make love with life and make art out of life. And the beauty in the simplicity of being here on this planet is ecstatic. And that is our nature.
yeah, that's right. It's our natural nature. So we're getting used to being us ourselves again. It's an extraordinary thing. It's like the saga of all sagas. It's like beyond Homer and the oldest books, the Epic of Gilgamesh. It's we're talking about a perspective and energy and awareness that comes from beyond the Orion Wars, beyond this galaxy. We're talking millennias. We're talking quantum millennias in all different directions. And in this one timeless time, spaceless space on the earth, that inhale is coming in, everything's being brought into this place and I love what you said about choices. People talk about, do we really have free will? Well, I know one thing. I've always known from a soul level, yeah, I exercise my free will to come here. And I think my mindset, so to speak, was what you'd mentioned earlier when you were talking about it, which is I'm going to go to the place. If this is going to go down, I'm going to get in line and try out for and try to get chosen or whatever, choose to go to the place where I can get the biggest bang for my buck. And yeah, be careful what you ask for, but we're on the other side of it now, so it's a lot easier to accept this thing, right? I think it's important to restate too what you said about the nervous system, the emotions, the emotional power that we have is another version or form of our greatest power. Our emotions drive with our imagination, and it drives. Well, we've seen what it's done in its devastation and in its distortion. So I feel like we're reaching a point too where we can say we can get over this now. Now, like you said, people are at different levels. They might have to work things out in different ways. But to be able to look at everybody, we've all been through the same thing. Oh, I see you're here, but I'm here. Oh, you're doing better here, and I'm over here. I'm still working with something here. But the bottom line is we can almost erase this thing now because the information that's coming in just totally supersedes it all. It overrides the whole system. It's a new operating system. It's the old operating system.
And a very direct operating system that it's not rocket science. The simplicity, evolution takes the time it takes to align. And speaking into our emotions, gone are the days when I'm not this body, I'm not these emotions. I am in this body and I have responsibility to take care of this body. And my emotions, they allow me access to the primordial elements of creation. Fire, water, air, ether, and our crystal and mineral kingdoms. If we deny, bypass, disassociate from our emotions, we're disassociating from our power. And this is a turning over of time of fire. The Great Flood was a turning over of time of water. And we're entering the year of the fire horse. So that's a lot of creative, ignited ignition energy that requires consciousness so that it can be directed into creative.
Yeah, and I'm I think 2 years into a triple fire. I'm already fire. I think I'm a triple fire. I don't know how all that works, but it's come to me more than once through people that I've collaborated with, had on the show, different types of you know, reading, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I, it's crazy. It really is. But it used to be crazy, like I'm crazy maybe, or whatever the case is. I mean, we all had our doubts through the years, but this is more like it's crazy, and I'm giddy about it. Like this is crazy. I walk out on the street. This is crazy. Like, how can it be like this? How can I walk next door and get a homemade bread for my sandwich? I mean, it's hot. I mean, it's like 5 cents, or just so many things. And even, with the backdrop of what's being presented, let's just say, outside of ourselves. And it doesn't matter if it's, in your city or your country or the world or your family even. It doesn't matter. It's all an external thing. And we live in here. But in here is all that. It's crazy. So I guess, where I'm going with this is if this is coming to the surface now, it's going to populate through the masses and through the field to a point where the rational mind just says, you know what, this power is much greater than this that I fear, or this that I'm, you know, considering in terms of what I really want to do, who I really am, and what I really feel. Overriding the old programs, I guess you could say it that way. And I know it's an emotional evolution, just like it is with everything. And you made a great point, because that's where the root of that primordial force is. If you imagine like the ultimate quantum entanglement, you've got the original pinpoint of oneness that was the mother before she started to burst. And then over here at the human, very dense, you've got the emotions, the heart. And it's a direct connection, right? So this is crazy. I fully believe a few of us will be walking on water. I'll try it. I might drown.
Well, I think what's important, water or fire, is that we take, when we do our deep personal work, we reach a level of maturity, we take full responsibility as creators of our reality.
Mm.
And it's very important. I grew up in a household where anger was projected.
Mm.
So my belief was anger does harm. So did I get angry? No way. Did I have any energy? Of course not, because I'd plugged my own volcano and fire. So I attracted a relationship with a very volatile partner until I learned to stand in the fire, and I learned to become the fire. And I learned that there's a lot of power in fire when it's not projected randomly, but rather ignited from the root and the base, from the womb space. We've got all these volcanoes opening up on the planet. We actually need to do a bit of a pelvic rotations and floor exercises to unlock our own volcanic plugs and let the fire flow with consciousness up through the heart. And what it does is it ignites the heart fire. And when our heart fire is burning brightly, we don't need to raise our voice. When mine gets ignited in a field of people and there's something to say, my tone changes. It gets very guttural, and it literally burns all the bullshit in the room quite instantly without raising the voice. And that heart fire is what gives us courage to walk our talk and speak our truth without being concerned of what others may think about that. Understanding that their perception is their projection on reality through their own filters, their own beliefs, and their own traumas.
Yeah, and to me, it's the same thing. Like, I'm going to act disregarding what people think, but at the same time, I'm going to act disregarding all these movie projections out there, because my outlook of it is my outlook of it. For somebody else, they may have to have it in the equation of their experience at this point. But for me, it's obvious. I mean, we've read about it. We've all gotten it. You go within, but it's taken on a meaning that it's never been in my consciousness, because I didn't have this experience and I wasn't coming out of this experience. So this is absolutely extraordinary. The level of, like you said earlier, it's I'll say it a different way. Like you have a certain foundational belief system. It's like a pyramid. You're going up the pyramid that's getting smaller and smaller, and you find a higher plateau, and then you find a higher plateau, and then you find a higher plateau, and then finally you're at the capstone. But that capstone is this essentially what's coming in March or April, the birth, and then from there it's I can see the cycle of it. And the other thing too, it's multi-dimensional. So because things are converging, you have, one grid of like a point coming out, like a pyramid triangle. You got a bigger one that contains it, a bigger one that contains that, a bigger one that contains that, and just keeps going and going and going. And that information's coming in. It's no longer a freakish thing, or they're eclectic, or they're woo-woo. No, this is becoming fact. And the more that we actually engage it, like you said, and align with it, we don't even have to tell anybody anything, because that's an energetic force within itself, and and it's connected to that primordial in a very conscious way. So, this is going to be one for the ages infinitum. This one's going to impress the mother. Like, wow, look what y'all did. Amazing.
We're being asked to step into the unknown. And once we get okay with stepping into the unknown, we're asked to learn to live in the not knowing. And to learn to live in the not knowing, yes, takes surrender, and also takes innocence, childhood innocence, without naivety, but innocence, discernment and discretion, curiosity, and wonder.
Yeah, it's got so many components to it, to include getting assimilated with, being relaxed more and more and more. It's affecting all those bodies, but it's centered here in the physical body. And that's, like you said, it's like it is our vehicle, but have we ever, conducted maintenance on our vehicle, or to what degree have we? And it doesn't just mean the physical things. So much emphasis is put on that, but so much of this conversation that I'm picking up from you and through the early part of the conversation, when you were talking about the group, is this part of us that contains this body and the next body and the next body and the next body, that's actually here with us, that's actually applicable. I mean, we can heal ourselves instantly And it's no more, some kind of pipe dream. It's no more an aberration. And there's so many other things that go along with that. So, God, I can't, you know, this is my first show of the year. And I just know it's going to be extraordinary. And I know because of the things that I received in the initiations and purgings, thank you, universe, in December. It was hell. It was hell. And, but it was all a powerful thing. And it culminated with those shows around that period we were talking about, right up to the 24th, I think. And then it was like silence. And Facebook banned me, and and I saw it. I just saw it all as energy. I didn't overreact, and I actually spent probably half the time laying on my back or sitting on the beach in silence. It was I guess what you were describing in a very simple way, which is the soul was guiding me. And the amazing thing was the level of, I don't want to say otherworldly, but the level of things that came into my visibility during these times in meditation and just being in nature uh, was incredible. Like it could have been words. It literally could have been words. It was so obvious what the universe was saying to me. And I'm thinking, I'm not the only one. This is going on all over the world. This is a level of intelligence that's beyond any, you know, bullshit. any anything you want to tell me that, there's a big bad wolf or there's an Illuminati or there's whatever. I'm sold. Period.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for being here and
Yeah,
for embracing your great purge and stop, full stop, and rest and reset.
oh my God.
Yeah.
And I picked up from a few other men. I'm not in contact with anybody. Very, very few people. I mean, nobody really, just one, maybe two, my daughter. But yeah, I think that's very important. But again, there just seems to be this huge convergence. It's like that was the completion part. And now all three in unison, if you want to put it that way, in the Trinity fashion, all three in unison are coming. This is mind blowing. So, but I just want to stay present with every day. I don't want to start talking about March and April. I just want to stay with today, one day at a time. Yeah.
It's true, I was just organizing a meeting before I came on with you, and it's like, oh, well, the only space I have next week is not till Friday next week. And it's like, this is my time off, downtime. But no, there's a lot moving on the planet, and it's exciting how many of our brothers are coming online and stepping into circle now.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
very dear brother I've known for 15 odd years came in and joined me up at Kapawaido, up at Spirits Bay, just prior to solstice, on his own unique journey too. And he's had been in deep these last few months
Yeah.
and coming into a whole new place within himself. And it's really exciting.
I'll tell you something that absolutely amazed me. And this all happened, it's along the lines of what you're talking about, uh, that last week of the month, right? Like, so when I got the ban from Facebook, the previous 3 or 4 days, I'd put out, I don't know, 30 or 40 clips. And I watched the metrics on YouTube and Facebook over the years. Now, when Soulogy was first created, it was 95% feminine and 5% men. And over time, it's dropped. It's been about like 70% now, 70%, okay, feminine. And so, but you can look at it from like the last week, the last month, the last 3 months. And since these shorts have been going out on YouTube, and this is just an example that I think is speaking to what we're talking about, because I've never seen this before, and I'm a numbers freak, okay? And so what I saw was that over like the last few weeks, the audience was 60%, 58% men and 42% women. Now it was like a period of like, I think it was post solstice. when I got shut down, because when I got banned by Facebook, my soul came in and just said, "Look, dude, you're not doing anything for 3 days. Cancel everything." There wasn't anything there. A couple of shows that we do every week, but I said, "Look, I can't do it." And circumstances presented themselves, as you know they do. So that, like you, that 7 or 8 days, the last three for sure was meant to be primarily alone. But I think that's another thing that's coming into our experience too, is because there's not this illusion or necessity of time that we are going to be spending, based on the old perspective, more and more time alone, like in our own space. Now that may take 5 minutes or 5 days or whatever, but it feels like more preparation in order to bring in or to embody what's coming in and what's available, or even getting used to it. How does this work? Because it feels a lot different than it used to.
Yeah, I just got full body Cleopa with the shift in your statistics of having more men watching your shorts and clips, which is great, which is very reassuring, and it feels strengthening in the planetary body from that shift of consciousness in the field. And wow.
You said that at the 1 hour, 11 minute, and 11 second mark. I looked up as 101, 111. Yeah, it's real. It's real. There's no doubt. Um, it's like this show feels different than the ones right up to the end of the year. It's the energy. I've known it was coming, and you're right. My body put me on blast the last 2 weeks of the year. Just blast me. I should have been in the hospital. No, I'm kidding. I'm being, but
No, my body went through stages. I had literally, if I'd gone to a doctor, my spleen was enlarged and like on popping. It was like so extremely painful and ready to burst. And, you know, if you'd run to the doctor, they probably would have taken it out. But I knew and just had to work away. Basically, a whole new level came up for cleansing and purification. So I
yeah,
just had to address
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But,
absolutely.
I'm due to open my third round of Mastery of Multidimensionality 9-month mentorship program in March. And I thought I would be spending this time writing. I've pretty much completed the guidelines for Homo luminous soul embodiment, and I thought I'd be writing Homo galacticus, our galactic recalibration. But the universe is like, no, that can wait. You've actually got work to do here. And
Mm,
it's been unfolding full on, literally. You, the universe has been booking out my diary 10 days in advance
wow.
since solstice. And it hasn't let up yet. And I'm like thinking, oh yeah, a couple more weeks, I'll have 2 weeks off, just go to the beach. But no, the beach comes in the spaces in between, because what's moving on the planetary body now is extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah. It feels good, but I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm I'm not taking my eye off the ball. I'm not going to get cocky. I know that for me, January 11th will be is a big day. Has been a big day. A few times since 2012, 2011. Um, so yeah, I'm keeping my eyes open, and it doesn't feel like these, you know, like an EKG. It doesn't feel so much like that. It feels like they're more like arcs. You know what I mean? And it's there's more ease and grace, I guess you could say that. But as long as you're, doing your thing, I mean, like you said, you can have as many dark nights as you want to. And a dark night can just be one little iota of whatever, of judgment or of, resistance that you have in your field. Because as we know, these things have gotten louder and louder and louder. And I know I got my ass kicked a couple of times in December. And I said, okay, I get the message now. I totally get the message. But these were things that were, little pieces in comparison to the much bigger things that, any of us deal with. But the truth is that they were the core, right? And they're still there. And it's happening. We're doing it. So,
It's
uh,
it's a time it's time for us to, ground in our bodies, really surrender and soften into being in our bodies and syncing our bodies with the planetary body,
Mm.
with the source of creation. And it's a much more graceful way to surf the waves of change that are
Yeah.
continuing to roll out.
Yeah.
Less
Yes.
more.
I woke up today and I thought yesterday, because today's the second here. So I woke up yesterday and it was just a weird day. I was just like, I mean, it was just a weird day. There was some good thing. I couldn't work much. I did some offline, and but I had to be walking on the street or putting my feet in the sand at the beach for a bit. I didn't. I don't know. It was just weird. But when I woke up today, it almost felt like the first day, and I could. I just woke up. I took a breath. I said a few gratitude affirmations. I walked into the. I felt like my soul just took over. I went into the kitchen. I pulled out my little Mexican pot that I bought at the street market. I pulled out some turmeric, garlic, and ginger, and I made a hot, a wellness drink, right? Fresh. And then from there, it just kept going. And I feel it. I feel it. It feels good. It does. It's going to be amazing. It is amazing, and I look forward to having amazing experiences. It's my privilege and honor to have you and your sisters and brothers come on this show and just be an open forum to show people out there that we're all the same, and it's kind of like the same energy of your group. It's and also taking into the account the fact that we're all standing right next to each other, so to speak. We're all dancing on the floor together. But I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the fact that you're so open and you come in here and share space with us. Uh, it's an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd, and your community. It's always a pleasure to meet in the not known with you and see where the journey takes us.
Yes, I will see you the next time.
Yes.
You take
Much love to
care.
you.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'll see you the next time, and have a great January. And I'll see you, and we'll compare notes down the road a little bit. Okay. All right. All right. Take care. Thank you,
Aloha
everybody.
from Aotearoa.
Yes.
Yes.
Adios from Mexico.